Power BI, DAX, forecasting, and all that goodness. They're here to stay. They're going nowhere. I've done lots of forecasting, done lots of analysis on this as well. One of the interesting things I did, though, was when I started going through to prepare for this video, lots of things kind of came to the fore that I've kind of known intrinsically, but that we don't really talk about a lot. So I thought, well, let's share some of this discussions, or let's share some secrets and let you in and let you have that little behind the scenes look. Hi, my name's Ross, the creator and founder of Geordie Consulting and Geordie Intelligence, the YouTube channel you're watching today. What I wanted to talk about was this issues that we have within forecasting in particular, because there's a lot of assumptions that go into it. And the more I was looking at this, the more I was kind of going, well, there's some core assumptions in forecasting that we have to address before we can actually forecast properly using Power BI and the like. Okay, so let's have a look and see what they are. So if we look at the top chart here, they have put 3 years in, or the last 2 full years in the current year that we're working through. We can see, on average, it's higher than the other one, than each year, is above the previous one. And we can validate that if we went over here, highlight that, and let's go down to trend. Oh, put a trend line on. Let's make that a bit bigger as well, just because I know you might struggle. Okay. And then if we remove the combined series, we can see that each one is above the one below it. Yeah. Well, obviously one below it, but we can see there's a year there. Yeah. So 2025, 24, 23. Okay. So if we go down, there is a percentage change, an average going between each year. Okay. We then have, if we look at the cumulative chart, because that's really the crux of doing any forecasting, is that kind of cumulative, because we can use here and we can say, well, based on this, if we looked at that, we would say, well, next week we expect to be, if 277, is that going to be higher or lower? How would you gauge that? What would we say? And this is where it gets really difficult, because it's like, well, once we start doing, finger in the air, it becomes difficult. What we're really saying is that forecasting's great at that macro level, but the individual specifics of a day or an event taking place, what will happen? And that's something that just isn't talked about enough. And I think when I was going through and doing this, we were looking, going, well, seasonality, well, this. And we can show the seasonality in here. So we can see this is Great North Run weekend. We can see this is Christmas. Okay. And then obviously we've got this one here, which kind of piqued my interest around mid to late November, mid-November. So I need to do some more digging into exactly what's going on there. But it's some interesting stuff there. So what's happening? So what I've done is that we've gone through and said, right, what's the change? We can see, well, year over year on a last 12 months, which again touches different to this. I went 12 months. Last 12 whole months and 24 months, there's a 21% increase. So we kind of got some narrative that we can put there. Now we could say, well, we're going to take whatever that value is for this previous year and multiply it by that. When it comes to calculating our forecast, what should we be doing? And this is, I think, one of the things I really want to be kind of clear on, where I say, well, we need to work out what we do. So we've got these cumulative values, and this is kind of what we would expect to build for anybody when we were doing let's do some forecast logic for them. And the crux of it kind of comes down to, well, working out, well, what's going to be there? What's our end of year value going to be? And then we extrapolate that back down. Okay, so we then say, right, how does this track from here to get to that end value? And then, of course, is that end value right? Which is then gets to all sorts of complexities, because does the forecast stay there, or should we be saying, well, based on where we would expect, we are already this much over it, which then allow us to say, well, we're going to do something different with this. And this is where it gets to be, the layers of complexity become huge. So we get to this point where we can say, right, up to this point here to there is, say, X percentage. Okay, so we've got X percent difference there. So that means we can then say at this point, we would expect to be that same percentage above. Or should we be looking at different? Should we be looking and saying, well, based on that, that is X amount through? But that doesn't, you can't then turn around and say, oh, well, it just becomes a whole mess of complexity to it. But fundamentally, the bit that we're most interested in and the bit that everyone is only really interested in is this bit here. Normally, for a forecast people are going to build, are we going to hit target? That's the question, okay? So what we've done in the past for a client was we went through and we said, right, at this point, you are 40% of the year. Okay? It's about that where we are now, about 40% of the year. A bit more than 40% actually, isn't it? Yeah. A lot more than 40%, 47, 48%. Let's say 50%, just so that I don't feel quite so terrible. 50% through the year. Based on that, do we expect you to come through and solve it? And that's then where it becomes, well, based on that value, will we hit there? So if we take that value here, multiply it. So if we take target multiplied day of year percentage, so what's percentage that we're through, that equals target at now. Yeah? So we've got this idea that we can sort of, this is all behind my head, so I can't see it. So the idea with this is around saying, right, this is why I don't use whiteboards, isn't it? Because it's just really good, isn't it? On the wall, in the office. You're trying to do it, or you here. So we get this idea where we say, right, based on that value, you're here. So let's say if our target, so last year we had a target of, or last year we had, let's say 13,000 finishes. Okay. Yeah. And we know, or we saw, that we've increased by, say, circa 20%. Okay, so that's going to give us, should be roughly round these up, let's say 16,000, okay? 16,000. It's more like, it's a bit less than that as well. It's 15,600. So yeah, but 16,000 for the sake of argument, 16,000 finishes equals target. Okay, so based on that, if we are at 50% of that, we would then say, well, that's going to be what, 8,000, isn't it? So if we come back across to, not there, come back to here, what are we up to? We're at 6,000. So we're kind of down on the list. And this then becomes where the problem is. So if we go back and we look and we see, well, actually, hang on, we've got big volumes coming are yet to come. So where if we get 500 people again in September for Great North Run weekend, and we get another 300 or so, well, more than 300 on Christmas Day, that's 800 of our target. So we've got, are we then limiting ourselves? And this is one of the things that always comes to me whenever we do forecasts, whenever we work with clients to get forecasting in there. But the exception needs to be included. And we can easily do them. There's, the logic for it isn't terrible. It just becomes really awkward to work it through. Because then what we end up needing to do is saying, well, based on this volume, that percentage, what percentage of the target is met to that point as well as to this point, to then work out what percentage we should actually be looking at the target. Because do you use your day-to-year percentage, or do you use the day-to-year percentage modified by your historic percentage performance volumes? Okay, and yeah, it's that fun and that complicated as to where you go. So that's simple. Even when you're saying we're going to put seasonality into it, never that easy. Okay? Or rather, it is, but we never like it to be. This is why, for so often, when it comes down to it, you kind of go, well, when we're looking at forecasting, oftentimes, if we turned around and went, let's put in date, let's put in registered finishers, let's make sure, let's just pick 2025, and then let's add the forecast line to it. The forecast line is easy enough to add, okay? Now, the challenge that you have with this, and this is where I think the problem we need to understand is, it's this window size, right? So it's almost, for a lot of forecasts, when you get the automated forecasts out, the line is misleading, okay? This line, it has no business being there. What you really want to be saying is, well, we believe that your value will be somewhere between 182 and 364. And the challenge of that is that's a huge bound. Okay, so what you'd really want to be getting to the point of is where we had like a range kind of like that. Okay, quite a tight range. We'd probably never get to have a range that tight. I'd love to be able to get a forecasting range that tight for events for parkruns. But I think, realistically, we know that we are coming in for Desmond Dean, we're coming in between 250 and 300 to 320. Okay? So we kind of got to that window, like quite a tight window. And for a retailer, you'll find that there's going to be people who have, well, this is what our shop is going to perform as. And it, by and large, will. And the question, or the things that's always going to come through is what you really want to understand is, well, what about these ones that were below, or this one that was above? Is there reasoning behind that that we haven't understood, or that we have understood? Does that make sense? There's something going on that I think we need to be willing or able to get a better handle on than we're going to get just from looking at that. And that forecast algorithm, the way that those are calculated, the way those are built, isn't going to get any better, because it probably shouldn't, because there's realities to all of these that just will not be included in a calculation as such. Yeah? So one last thing, just as we were talking about forecasts and that kind of thing, is what I wanted to look at was here. Okay, so if you remember, we did our scorecards. Let's revisit our scorecards, because when we first built them, there was nothing in it, was there? And that's always been scorecards are rubbish because there's nothing in there. And we can do a lot with them, and there's a lot we can actually put in here to help us mitigate or manage our percentages or our changes. So it's worth thinking about scorecards if you're looking at putting in forecast algorithms. So the scorecard we built, if you remember, we had the totals, and we had 3 things going through to it, because I was trying to show as well that over time, things change. So we've got our businesses, which again, say it's just been running quietly away, tick, 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 okay? And the business count, we can see how that's gone up. We've had a Newcastle Parkruns, we can see how that's gone up in terms of the registered finishers that they've had. And likewise, we've had in Sunderland, we've had those numbers go up as well. So overall, what we've got is quite a nice view now that we can actually do these things. But the thing to remember is that if we come into here and we choose to edit this goal, at the moment our final value is manual. There'd be nothing to stop us having a final value that was based on the previous year's value. And remember, this is the key. Okay, we have a good calendar table, so we can lock in place values. We can take that value, we can put it onto a report, we can then extract it, we can bring it into our scorecard. We can then use logic for here, set up rules on here. So a new rule where value is greater than target. Yeah, it's on target, it's not on target, something like that. Okay, but what we get with this, and this is the bit I think which is really important for you to see, If we come out of here, we go back to read mode. When I look at a particular metric here, we can turn around and say show targets. Okay, so we can say here, show me the target. And it's got the target, it's got the date that we've got for that target. So for you guys, we put the year-end date as opposed to whatever date it is. And that's important that we put a target on these, or not a target, we put a date on these targets. And we can then see progress towards that target. So in this case, yeah, we're never going to make 400,000 people in one event, or two events, one or two events. But it makes it really easy to track and see over time what's going on. One of the things we've got is if we have a look at our, let's go back to metrics, because one thing that we've actually got here. So we have on our internal stats, so we've got, where we're looking at our YouTube subscribers, if we looked at our watches figures, we showed the targets there. Let's zoom in on here. Okay, so we're actually looking to gradually keep increasing. And you can see over time, I've gone in and I've put in place arbitrary values where I'd like our metrics to be. I'd like to have this many views on the channel. We'd like to do this. Okay, and we can then see tracking over time. Is it going up? Is it going down? Okay, and we can view that and you can see performance against target there. And we've also got the projection for where my final target should be in terms of the diamond and the milestones in terms of the dots. Does that make sense? So we've actually got a capability we can put everything into one place that will allow us to track and see. And in terms of these, one of the things I do like with these, especially if you break these down, is it makes it clear as to what it would be. And it's not impossible to piece those together. It's a bit more awkward because it takes a bit more time. You see the final target, got multiple targets, we can edit those. And this is where, because of the structure of it, it's just a table of data. So it would be nice, these are still in preview, it would be nice if we could make these more data driven. So hopefully over time, these will become more data driven. By the way, Microsoft, bring these through properly because this is really useful. So it's been a busy week with Microsoft with all this. Okay, so I thought we'd go through and really actually try and piece together a few things that are going on, like the forecasting side especially. It's all too easy to get into some really complicated DAX that isn't going to serve a lot of value into your business just to try and produce this beautiful algorithm that tells you what the forecast is going to be. Because when it's wrong next week, next month, suddenly you're the idiot. Why did you put this? Okay, and the reality is it's a forecast. Forecasts are never going to be 100% accurate. We would love them to be, but we have to accept if we can get to 90%, 95% for a forecast accuracy, awesome. 100% accuracy, not going to happen, mate. Sorry. But management teams struggle to accept that. But that is the reality. That is the truth that we are signing up for when we start saying we want to forecast. We're saying, well, give us an acceptable window for what normal should be. And it's that normal that kind of comes through to it. So when I was going through and going, well, what should we do? What should we do? We're looking at like statistical controls. And we've built control charts in the past. Where is that the way to go? Do we say upper bound, lower bound, base that on last 12 data points that you have, last 5 data points that you have, upper bound, lower bound, what do you want to do for it? So we could take our parkrun data, we could say the last 12 weeks, this has been the average number of finishers. Based on that, this is the up bound and lower bound. We could say 20 weeks, we could say whatever number we want, of course. But we then have an upper bound and lower bound, and we can build those things through. I'm not a fan, as I say, especially when you go through this, doing like the recommended way of doing the control charts with like the 2 standard deviations. I get it and I understand it, but I think given the structures that you have, doing 2 standard deviations as opposed to 1, yeah, anyway, your use case will be your use case, right, for it. Recommended way is 2 standard deviations. I know when I showed the demo a few weeks ago, I did 1 standard deviation with him, and that's generally the way I prefer to go, a standard deviation. Obviously, we're not going to explain standard deviation on this call, on this video, but what you want to get to is the point where you're going, well, this is our normal band of operation. That's what we're trying to get to. And that's why statistically you say it's 2 standard deviations away, because that then gives you, that should effectively be, if you think of it as a bell curve, you've got the vast majority of everything is in normal. That's what you want. And whereas for me, often when we're trying to like bring through process improvements, is we kind of want to actually start to investigate and it goes slightly over or slightly under, which is why 1 standard deviation is probably better, because it gives us a tighter control framework. But yeah, we digress. We could have that discussion for hours on end. Okay. For now though, if you like what you've seen and you think it's time to get Geordie Consulting involved with your organization, drop us a line. office@geordieconsulting.co.uk, or you can use the QR code, book a meeting, or you can click book a meeting link on the YouTube channel. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.